I'd like to welcome all of you to this is a different type of webinar. It's just going to be, Tamara and I are going to present some new products that we've had very good results with and that we're finding a lot of people could use. There's a lot of research going on and a lot of new developments. So we thought this would be a good way to get some of the information out, especially since we're still dealing with COVID and people aren't out and about and coming into stores as often as they used to. We used to talk to people when they came in. And so we want to get this information out. I also want to remind everyone there is a question and answer box. So please feel free to type any questions you have as we're going through the products. And at the end of my presentation and Tamara's, our phone numbers and emails will be there. So if you would like, feel free to contact us tomorrow or during the week, and we'll be glad to answer your questions. I want to mention that we are having our Customer Appreciation Week. It's going to be June 7th through the 13th. We're doing it virtually again. We weren't sure what the status of COVID restrictions were going to be, but the Wellness Center is open. So the 7th through the 13th, everything in the store, in the front store in the Wellness Center is 20% off. There's no limits. And this is our way of thanking you for your support, not only through the last year during COVID, but for all the years you've been supporting us. We really appreciate it, and we would like to say thank you to you. We will, if you go on our website or if you look at your newsletter, we are having lectures each night at 6 o'clock. Some of our vendors are having their specialists give lectures, so just sign up. On Friday night, Evan Healy, and I'll let Tamara, she can talk about that and drop more if she wants. It's going to be, you're going to be doing a facial at home over the internet, which is pretty interesting, doing a facial not being there. But we did this in the store, or for some of the staff at the store. It was really relaxing and very interesting. And from a guy's point of view, that we just usually use soap and water and just wash our face, it really was very, very invigorating and interesting. So that's coming up. We have CV Science, we have Pure Remedy, we have Vital Protein. And so feel free to sign up there. All the lectures will be that week at 6 o'clock. And what else did I want to say? Oh, and we hope everyone is doing well. Tamara and I don't have our masks on. We're each in a closed office. With the new regulations coming in, our store is still open, and we welcome you to please come down. We are asking that for your safety and for the safety of the staff. For right now, we are going to continue to ask people to leave their masks on when they're in the store. And if that is an issue, we'll be happy to be your personal shopper. You can wait outside. The weather is nice, and we'll be glad to get everything for you or bring it out to you so you can look at it. But we're hoping people will start stopping in. For Customer Appreciation Week, you can come in the store and shop. You can shop online. You can call us and we'll take your order, or you can email us your order. And all these different options are right in the newsletter. So with that, let me move on. So one of the questions I asked was, have you heard of hydrogen water? Hydrogen water has been around for probably, it's been being used for 10, 15 years. And the studies that were done have been excellent. The problem is, up until recently, you had to buy about an $8,000 hydrogen generator for your house to be able to make the hydrogen water. There's now product H2 Elite, and it comes in a bottle. We have it in the 60s, and you take it 1 or 2 times a day. And what it does is, and I'm going to show you, you take a tablet, and it's just a little tablet, and you drop it in the water, and hopefully you can see it fizzes sort of like an Alka-Seltzer used to. And it takes about 2 minutes to fully dissolve. And those bubbles, that tablet's reacting with the water and is liberating hydrogen. So you can see it's starting to saturate the water with hydrogen bubbles. So you want to wait till it stops bubbling, about a minute or 2, and then drink it down. and it gets absorbed almost instantly through the mucus lining in the esophagus and the stomach. And I'll be talking about what this does. Tamara just got her first bottle and she's drinking hers now, and she's never had it. I've been using it for about a year now, and I find that it helps with mental energy and also decreasing inflammation. And I'll be going a little technical in a minute, showing you how it does that or why it does it. But hydrogen water is being used over at the Dana-Farber, people going through chemo and radiation, and they found that people who are drinking hydrogen water during their therapy have fewer side effects and find they go through the therapy easier and they don't have to back down on the amount of therapy. And so they found it was very helpful. It's a great antioxidant. It helps support the detox pathways. It's very good if you're under stress, need more energy, or have inflammation. And one of the reasons is it helps decrease free radicals. And a lot of people find when they're exercising that is very, very helpful on their athletic performance. All right, so it is just about done. And then all you do is drink it down.
And Gary, we just had a question about if this was the same as H2 Infuse.
Yes, there's a few different companies. There's H2 Infuse, there's Active H2, there's H2 Elite. What I like about H2 Elite, one, the other two companies raise their price up. And so H2 Elite is less expensive, so that's a good thing. It's high quality, and it comes in a glass bottle. The others are in plastic. And as things develop and they're being used, they found that storage of it in the glass bottle they last a little bit longer if you're not using them right away. But they are all the same manufacturer, the same product. And so it's just drinking it down, and I'll keep sipping as we go along. So a lot of you have some of you have done some genetic testing, or your doctor might have been testing you for the MTHFR gene. And I'm doing a lot of work on genetics, looking at the different genes and the enzymes that they control and how it affects how our whole body is working metabolically. And so if you look at each of these circles or lines, think of them as gears in a watch. And if you have a SNP, let's say on the MTHFR, or, there's all different ones here. There's the MAT gene and the CBS gene, and I can go through this with you if you want. I'm not going to spend the time now. But if some of these gears are a little dirty in the watch doesn't keep good time. So if somebody has the MTHFR, they're not methylating folic acid well. And when that happens, they don't methylate well. And they don't make SAMe, which is our biggest methylator. If this circle isn't working well, they have a problem with homocysteine. And instead of things flowing all the way around, they go flying down this pathway, which uses up our glutathione, stresses our adrenals, raising cortisol. That generates a lot of free radicals. The superoxide radical, peroxynitrite, hydrogen peroxide. And those are very beneficial. We make those in our body during normal metabolism, and our body uses our antioxidants to break them down when they're done so they don't damage us. Free radicals are like what the ultraviolet light does to our skin. It generates free radicals, and if there's too many of them for too long, that can cause the leathering of the skin and eventually skin cancer. And the free radicals are damaging us inside. That's very stressful for our system. So when you're generating too many of these, the body starts using backup systems. It takes some BH4, which is another enzyme, to help break these down. But we need BH4 to make our neurotransmitters. It also steals our nitric oxide and our B vitamins and our quercetin and all of our antioxidants to try to break down these very strong free radicals. So we need those nutrients they're cofactors in hundreds and hundreds of pathways in every cell in our body. So if they're all being brought over here due to stress and the high level of the free radicals, our whole body's metabolic rate slows down. When you take hydrogen water, it helps break these down. And so that can spare a lot of the nutrients we're getting from our food and our supplements to go to the pathways they should go to. And it can help calm down the adrenals. And it helps us not overuse our glutathione, so we can use that for detoxing. It can help us not accumulate too much glutamate, which leads to stress and anxiety and sleep problems. So just by drinking a little bit of hydrogen water every day, it can be a very balancing effect on your body, whether you're feeling good or you're really not feeling well. Now, this is one of the things I use when a client comes in, and I say this lovingly, they're a real mess. And they have a lot of different problems. They haven't been getting any results. And every time they take either a pharmaceutical or they take a supplement that should be good for them, they have a negative reaction, even when they take little bits of it. And it seems the hydrogen water helps clear up some of the blockages and gets all those gears moving along. Another product that was developed recently is called Cytocom 6. And you can look at the ingredients. It really isn't anything earth-shattering. It's just the right amount of the right things. Now with COVID, a lot of the research was done because of COVID. COVID, a lot of you have probably heard of the cytokine storm. And that was, some people probably do a lot to their genetics. When they got COVID, the first thing the body does in all of us is it raises a substance called IL-6, and I'll show a chart in a minute, and that causes us to release inflammatory cytokines. And that's very important. That's what the body does when you get a cold or when you get the flu or when you get COVID. The problem was that the COVID virus, short-circuited that and turned it on and wouldn't let the body turn it off when it was done. So you had uncontrolled inflammation, and especially in the lungs. So that's why a lot of people wound up with such severe inflammation in their lungs, they needed to be on a respirator. They couldn't breathe on their own. What they found as they were researching this, a lot of people have some genetic susceptibility to not regulating the cytokines appropriately. So the severe end is a lot of those people were the ones who got very sick with COVID, but a benefit of, unfortunately, the research that had to be done was they found there's an awful lot of people that don't balance their cytokines appropriately, so they have higher level of inflammation than the body really needs. And inflammation is very healthy for us. If we twist our knee or overuse a muscle, it gets inflamed and hot and hurts, and that makes us not use it. And the body can heal it, and then the cytokines go down and you're off and running. But a lot of people, the level stays too high. And this blend is very, very helpful at lowering that. So people who have systemic inflammation, they have chronic pain or stiffness all over, or people who are getting up in the morning and are more stiff than they should be after exercising the day before, something like this could be helpful. And should everyone take this or the hydrogen water? Hydrogen water, I would say, I can't think of anyone who shouldn't. Something like this, it won't do you any harm to take, but you should only take it if you need it. So feel free to get in touch with me and we can discuss your inflammation and whether this would be beneficial. So this is just a little graphic. If you look at it, IL-6 it's a NOx enzyme, and that's starting to get more and more information out there. But if you have a problem balancing IL-6, I just put this up, it overstimulates the mast cells, which overstimulate histamine, which then comes down and overstimulates IL-6. So this is a very in-depth, But I just wanted to show you, once the cycle starts, if your body can't regulate it, it's self-perpetuating, and it just keeps raising the inflammatory cytokines around and around and around. And some of the things that can feed into this is your genetic susceptibility. It can be from high histamine, if you have problems with histamine in foods or seasonal allergies, that feeds into this. It can be high blood sugar, mast cell issues. If you're very anxious, glutamate feeds right into that. If you have been living in a toxic environment, have mold toxicity, or are having trouble detoxing, that feeds into this too. So there's a lot of reasons that this could get out of control. And it seems now we have some good tools, the H2, the Elite, and the Cytocom 6, both seem to be very good, not at suppressing this, but helping the body regulate it more efficiently. A lot of people, especially now we're going to have 5G everywhere soon, there's an awful lot of people out there that are very sensitive to EMF. If there's too much Wi-Fi in a building when they walk in, or when they use their cell phone, they don't feel as well as when they don't have it near them. And there's been a lot of studies done, and they found these nutrients are very effective at helping protect the body from the EMF and lessen those side effects. And you've heard of, a lot of you have probably heard of calcium channel blockers being used for high blood pressure. Well, what happens is, this is a genetic area. There's a gene, and it's the CACNA1C, and you don't have to memorize that. But if you have those SNPs in your genetics, it allows extra calcium to cross the cell membrane. And EMF will help draw in the extra calcium. And when you have too much calcium going in, it generates this free radical, it generates peroxynitrite, hydrogen peroxide. It uses up your glutathione, so you can't detox. And when you can't detox, you get more inflamed and more sensitive. And so by having too much calcium come into the cells, into the mitochondria, it can cause a minimal cytokine storm, not like with COVID. But that's why a lot of people, when they're exposed to the EMF, they start feeling their energy go down, their brain gets fuzzy, they can find their allergies get worse, digestion goes down, sleep problems happen. And looking at this chart, if you've studied any of this, a lot of these areas are very important for good health. So by blocking or slowing down the extra calcium coming in, a lot of people with EMF sensitivities find they feel much better. You're protecting your body. And this, Tamara may want, when she starts in a few minutes, to talk about this also, because this is in her wheelhouse also. A lot of people have histamine issues or mast cell issues. And if you have seasonal allergies, some people will find that when they eat certain foods, they have a problem. Their nose or sinuses fill up, or the roof of their mouth gets itchy. Some people, a lot of people seem to find that with peaches and almonds, you know, some of the nuts. I'm not talking anaphylactic type reactions where you have to go to the hospital. I'm just talking you don't feel as well. Now, one thing about histamine, we think of histamine for allergies, for runny nose, itchy eyes, sneezing, maybe itching. But histamine also has a big effect in our gut. It's a neurotransmitter in the brain. So when your histamine level is too high, it can make you constipated, slow down the gut, or in some people cause diarrhea. It can cause you to just feel fuzzy or lack of energy during the day. When people's histamine levels go up, they find at night they don't get a good night's sleep. And one of the things they found is, in the lining of the gut, there are some cells that make an enzyme. It's called DAO. And nature made our guts so they would release this to digest the histamine and break it down that's in the food. And if you look up online high histamine foods, the majority of the healthy foods that we should be eating are on the high histamine level. And I don't want you to eliminate all high histamine foods. You'll probably lose so much weight, you'll get very sick. What we want to do is heal the gut, because when the gut's inflamed, or you're constipated, or have IBS, or you have an organism imbalance, when the gut lining gets a little inflamed, the first thing that stops working is you stop making DAO. Then when you eat a histamine food, that inflames the gut even further, which causes more digestive issues, but it also raises histamine in our body. So a lot of people who are having trouble getting control of their allergies or the histamine response, by adding in some DAO, and it's now available in capsule form, you can be breaking down the histamine in all these healthy foods you're eating, so you're not adding fuel to the fire that's burning. All right, so Tamara's email is real complicated. It's tamara@naturalcompounder.com, and I'm Gary@naturalcompounder.com. Our phone numbers are, if you call the store, 781-893-3870. I'm at extension 111. If you hit extension 3, they can get a hold of Tamara or I, and I didn't put her extension. So when she comes on, she'll let you know what her extension is. And I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to call me or email me, and I'll be glad to discuss it further. And if you hold on 1 minute, I'm going to turn this over to Tamara, and we'll let her get going. And just have to unmute yourself, Tamara. There you are.
Okay, great. All right, I'll share my screen. Thank you for that, Gary. And yes, if Gary and I also share clients often. So if something like the histamine is an issue for you, especially maybe with Gary, you figured out some genetic things going on with histamines, then I can also help out on the nutrition side. Gary, can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. And I'm drinking, yeah, like he said, I'm drinking.
I can, and I'm gonna shut it off, and you should have almost finished that by now. You want to drink it down, and probably within 3 to 5 minutes after you drop the tablet in there. Otherwise, all the hydrogen starts bubbling away.
All right, well, I better get through these next slides so I can finish it up. All right, so before I go into the actual products that I will be talking about, I just wanted to briefly go over what carbon technology is. It's a new type of, or new word, well, you know what, I shouldn't even say that it's that new, because there is a lot of research on it. One of the doctors associated with this company that I'm talking about 2 of their products for has created a 45-page document, and on each page there's at least 6 different studies about all of the different things that these carbon technology molecules can do for us and how beneficial they are. But it is a little bit newer to the market of supplements. So these carbon technologies, these are groups of carbon atoms. And so we're kind of zooming in on a really small scale to what these compounds are. And they are natural types of binders, so they can adhere to things in our body, and drivers as well, which means that they can push things farther into our cells. And just like Gary got really down and scientific into some of the little aspects going on, these are also, we're talking on a really small scale inside of each one of our cells. So the 2 types of carbons that I'll be talking about, or that are included in some of these products, are humic acids. Again, they're naturally occurring in soil, and the humic acids are longer chains, and then the fulvic acids are smaller chains. They're extract of humic acids. And we don't just want the humic acids, the really long chains, because that can be a little bit harder to absorb, but they do have some benefits as well. So in these products, what they'll do is have extract the fulvic acids from the humic acids, and then put both into the product together so that we can get the benefits of both. Um, since I mentioned that they are binders and can bind to different things inside of our cells and inside of our bodies, a lot of people will ask me or will have heard of binders such as charcoal, or hopefully I'm pronouncing this right. This the shil Gary, you might need to help me out with this. I've been practicing my pronunciations,
I
but
have no idea how to pronounce it. So how about
I always say it in my head.
Shilajit?
I think it's Shilajit. No one hold me accountable for that. I try my best with pronunciations, but sometimes I get them wrong. Activated charcoal is like a generic, all-encompassing magnet, and it will bind to everything in your body, and it won't be selective, and it will absorb things like beneficial nutrients as well, which we don't want. And these carbons, these humics and fulvic acids, are a lot more selective. And then the Shilajit, it does have a little bit of humic acid in it, but certainly not as strong as some of these products that I'll be mentioning. And so a quote that I liked was that these carbon molecules, or these humic and fulvic acids, are the ultimate adaptogens. And we hear a lot about adaptogens in terms of herbal products, and they can help to regulate or balance out our body to where it needs to be. So if we need to go up a little bit, the adaptogens will help us go up. If we need to come down a little bit, the adaptogens will help us come down and balance out our body. And so these different types of compounds act in a similar way, where they can help to support the body with what it needs. And again, I mentioned that there is plenty of research on how beneficial these can be for our health. So I just listed a few different ways that it can help. So it can help to increase nutrient absorption and also herbal absorption when combined in a product together. It can help to decrease inflammation. It will bind to things like toxins, heavy metals, pesticides, and mycotoxins. So some of these things that might be causing inflammation in our body. It also helps to protect against oxidative stress. It also helps with our immune response. Here we have the histamines again, and so it can actually help to decrease histamines as well. There are some antiviral properties to these compounds. And then it also helps to support mitochondrial health, which is really important, and I'll get to in a few slides. There were also some research studies with different types of cancers, some different types of breast cancer and liver cancer as well. So these things are really, really beneficial and really balancing for our body as well. All right, so the first product is a product called Mito ATP, and these are specific extracts of humic and fulvic acids specifically to help mitochondrial function. So in the name, it has mito for mitochondria and ATP for that molecule of ATP that is the energy currency inside of our body. And when we are talking about mitochondrial health, we are zooming deep into every single cell in your body. So there are many mitochondria in each of your cells, and it varies how many mitochondria there are depending on what type of cell that we are looking at. For example, your liver cells have a lot of mitochondria in them. But these mitochondria are really, really important because this is the final step of generating energy from your food. We need to go through a lot of different steps to actually make energy. We need to choose good food. We need to chew it nice and well. We need to digest it, absorb it into through our gut, into our bloodstream, and then we need to deliver all these broken down nutrients to each and every cell in our body. Then it gets utilized, and we can make energy inside of the mitochondria. And so we start off with the mitochondria, and then in a bigger sense, there's the cell, the health of the cell, and then the health of each cell in an organ determines the health of the organ itself. And so if, for example, a thyroid gland, or I have the picture of a thyroid here, does not have enough energy, then it cannot produce enough thyroid hormone. So even though it seems like we're zooming in on such a teensy tiny scale, these mitochondria have a really big impact for every organ and every function in our body. We even need energy to be able to sleep. We need energy to balance out our cortisol level. This is really important for many different functions or every function in our body. The mitochondria are very important. And there's some things down here that impair mitochondrial function. So things like toxins, viruses, or infection. I know tick season is coming up, so things like Lyme disease can have an impact as well. In terms of toxins, we're exposed to, or some of us are exposed to mercury through silver fillings, maybe pesticides on certain crops, on our food, and then some medications as well, maybe like some over-the-counter pain meds. So all these different things can impair our mitochondrial function. So by taking this MitoATP, it can certainly help to boost our energy level. Like I said, we need to make sure that our mitochondria are nice and healthy to make energy. So that can mean that we can have more energy overall. It can also mean that we can help to support our different thyroid glands, our adrenals, and all these different organs so that they're functioning at their peak performance, which is what we really want. The interesting thing about this MitoATP that maybe some herbal products that support mitochondria don't do is that they can also help to detoxify some of those toxic substances I mentioned. So these little chains can scooch into the cell, into the mitochondria, and kick out things like mercury and lead. If we go back to some of Gary's in-depth diagrams, we could see some lead there, and maybe we'll find mercury, and these things can interfere with how well you're making energy. So it can go in, push them out of the cell, and put in the substances that we need to support the mitochondrial function. It will also protect our cells from DNA damage. And we've found that it has been really helpful with some patients with chronic diseases that impact their mitochondria. So again, that could be Lyme disease, or maybe if someone is struggling from mold illness, maybe chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia, these symptoms or these conditions where energy is really low and it's impacting the whole body and they need a little bit of a boost. Other fun ways to support your mitochondria are sleeping and getting some sun exposure. So maybe some early sun exposure, not at the heat of the day, but in the morning when it's not as strong, getting a little bit of sun on your skin can be really helpful as well. For the dosing for this product, it is, or can be really strong for some individuals. So we recommend starting off at a really low dose, maybe even 1 drop in water, and then you can work your way up to either 5 drops twice a day or 10 drops twice a day. And just like the hydrogen water, it has no taste to it, so it can really be added to any liquid and you won't even notice. All right. The next product is called Advanced TUDCA, and I did practice this pronunciation because I just wanted to say it correctly one time. So TUDCA, or TUDCA, stands for taurodeoxycholic acid. That's a mouthful. I'll just call it TUDCA from now on. But this TUDCA is a type of bile acid combined with the humic and fulvic acids, NAC, or N-acetylcysteine, which has been in the news lately. Some of you may have seen that. And then also melatonin as well. And I just put a little star next to the melatonin because it is not intended to put you to sleep. The melatonin simply helps to act as an activator for the TUDCA. And so these products all together will help to stimulate the release of bile from the gallbladder into the small intestine. And over on the bottom corner, I have a picture of the abdominal section. And hopefully you can see a little green bulb, which is under the liver, which is the gallbladder. And it connects through a duct to the small intestine. And it's pretty close up to where the stomach joins with the small intestine. And the bile is really important for a few different things. It helps to digest food, especially fat and some fiber as well. It also helps to regulate the pH of the small intestine. And it does this by neutralizing the stomach acid that has been mixed with the food in the stomach that is dropping down into the small intestine. This is really important. We don't want any ulcers in the small or large intestine, but also our bacteria like to live at certain pHs. And so it's really important that we have optimal bile function to support a good microbiome. The bile also helps to eliminate toxins processed by the liver. My little mental image, or what I like to say, is that the liver goes around sweeping up all of these different toxins, whether it's some of these pesticides we're exposed to, some things in the air, or maybe some things in our products, our skincare products, or even things like estrogen, for example, that once we use, we need to get rid of, or something like cholesterol too. And so the liver sweeps all these toxins up, puts them in trash bags, and then sends these trash bags through the bile to the gallbladder. And the gallbladder dumps the bile with these trash bags of toxins into the small intestine to move through the GI tract to be eliminated. And I think it's fun to refer to our bowel movements as toxic sludge, because it really is one of the main routes of excretion for toxic elements. And so our bile is very important for that process. Additionally, our bile helps to bind and remove LPS particles, and these are toxic particles that bacteria can produce and create inflammation and leaky gut in our gut. And so a lot of you have maybe heard of leaky gut, but that is when the spaces between our cells in our small intestine get a little bit bigger and damaged, and more particles can get through, causing an increase in immune activation and increase in inflammation stemming from the gut. So bile is so important. It's so foundational to so many different processes in the body. And usually, especially I know in some of my earlier training, all I really was taught about with bile was that it's helpful for digesting fat, but there's really so much more to it. So this TUDCA has been shown to have a lot of benefits. So we'll just go through some of them, and some of it will make sense based off of the functions of bile. But the advanced TUDCA itself has been shown to help to improve liver health and also liver mitochondria. I mentioned that there are a lot of mitochondria in liver cells, so it's really important that we're supporting this. It could also be helpful for someone that has some inflamed liver tissue. Sometimes we can see that in the lab work when you're getting your annual physical at your PCP. We can see some of those numbers elevated, the AST and ALT. And then also, some people have a fatty liver. Maybe you've been told you have a fatty liver. Your doctor might tell you that. Sometimes if your liver is a little bit inflamed, you can even take your hand and put it a little bit under the right side of your ribs. And if you feel some tenderness, that could indicate that your liver might need a little bit of help. TUDCA has also been shown to help to heal the gut lining, again, talking about healing that leaky gut. It's also been shown to help with lots of skin conditions like eczema and psoriasis. So when we aren't able to flush out these toxins through the GI tract, then it can start to come out through our skin, which is a secondary but more irritating way of detoxification. Eczema and psoriasis are not comfortable. Again, the TUDCA can increase mitochondria. Also interestingly enough, although we've been talking a lot about the liver and the GI tract, the TUDCA has also been shown to be neuroprotective, so protecting us from neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, but also helping to improve cognitive function. And as Gary was mentioning, who doesn't want to have clear thinking and energy and not feel fogged or bogged down? Again, here it's helping to support the immune system. It can be helpful to, especially with viral load as well. Again, reducing oxidative damage, especially when it was combined with the N-acetylcysteine. And then it will also be helpful for decongesting clogged bile ducts. So we need that bile to be able to flow nicely from the liver through to the gallbladder and then to the small intestine. We don't want any backups there. So the TUDCA can really help flow through that system very nicely. And it was shown to increase bile flow by over 200%. So this stuff is really powerful. It really gets things moving. All right, so TUDCA can be used for a lot of different types of people and for a lot of different reasons, but here are some of the main reasons. So for those looking to detox, if you are doing some gentle ongoing detox, or if you're looking to do a shorter term, more intensive detoxification, it is a really great option for you and can fit in really nicely with some other detoxifications, other detoxification products, or for example, if you're taking some herbs like milk thistle, for example, it can pair really nicely with that. It's also really helpful for people that are looking to support gut health. This could be anywhere from wanting to heal leaky gut, perhaps needing some support around constipation, or feeling like you aren't able to digest fats as well, and you're noticing some floating stool or odd colored stool. You can certainly use it as part of a protocol to help to heal something like eczema or psoriasis. And then again, using it to help to support liver and gallbladder health, which are really so important living in this more toxic world. And then for dosing, again, we always recommend starting slow, but the sensitive dosing would be 1 capsule per day, or the standard dosing would be 1 capsule twice per day. And it does not need to be taken with meals. It can be taken at any point of the day. But again, this TUDCA, the melatonin, and the NAC are all combined with these humic and fulvic acids to help to make it even more effective than if they were on their own. All right, and that's all that I have for you two, for everyone here. I guess I was just talking to Gary and myself, but that's all I have for everyone. These products are, like Gary said, we've tried them all out on ourselves and for a lot of our clients, and we found them to be extremely beneficial. All right, and I'll stop sharing my screen, Gary, unless there was any questions.
All right. Thank you, Tamara. That was excellent. And again, if there are any more questions, please type them into the question and answer box. If you prefer to ask one of us, not in front of everyone else, if there's any questions, feel free to give us a call or email us. We're here, are available 5 days a week. We welcome your questions. If it's something more in depth, we'd be more than happy to set up a consult time where we can dive in much deeper, look at your labs, look at your history, and really figure out what would be good for you today. And a lot of these products, some of them are good to take all the time, but a lot of them are to accomplish a specific purpose. And once you're doing better, that area may not need support. So just to be taking something for the rest of your life, some things that's good, but a lot of things it's just for a reason. And when that reason is getting better, you can change your dose. So having someone to help guide you can be helpful. And no other questions have come up. So Tamara, thank you. That was excellent. And I want to thank you all for joining us. Remember, our customer appreciation is next month, the 7th through the 13th. You can come into the store, you can order online, you can email us, phone call, give us a call. Everything in the front store is 20% off. There's no limits, and it's our way of thanking you for your support.
And I just want to mention one other thing is that the 2 products that I spoke about are not on our website right now. We do have them both in stock. But we just don't have them on our website. So if you were interested in them, giving us a call or coming down to the store would be best.
Yeah. And also, if you do order online, we're working on it, but we don't have every single product online. So if you're looking for something and it isn't there, we have it. Just give us a call and we'll be glad to add it to your order. If you don't find it, or online sometimes can be difficult, feel free to call us. We have plenty of staff here. We'll be glad. We love talking to you. We'll be glad to answer your questions and put your order together. So again, thank you all so much and have a good night.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.